Well, so let me tell you where that came from. This whole syndicate,
Yeah.
because you are dead nuts on. What's really interesting about your story to me
Mhm.
is a lot of the stuff you're dealing with and a lot of the same people that are going after you. I've been investigating for since I started doing this for years, 8, 9 years. And so Doug Ducey, his mother's family is directly, right? He grew up in Ohio in a mob syndicate.
Mhm.
He came out to Arizona and immediately, as a real young man, like late teens, early 20s, started going to ASU, but immediately went to Hensley Beverage and became an intern. Okay. Now, kind of pin that. Some dude, now Doug Ducey's story publicly is always, I drove out to Ohio in my Datsun, a broke college guy,
Mhm.
Mr. American boy. And it came out many years later. I actually think it was Stephen Lemons who had done an expose many years ago on Doug Ducey's mob ties, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They go very, very deep. And basically, what
In
New
Ohio?
Mhm. So basically, what New Times did, though, is they kind of caught Ducey covering up because he always made his public image to be like not his really what he grew up around, which was Ohio mob syndicate, and like not like cousins and stuff, like his mom and his uncle, the maternal side, like direct. He grew up around it. So it's very interesting. Is if you follow him years later, Hensley's a very important event when he goes into Hensley because when you paper Hensley back, Hensley was founded by the mob. So Cindy's McCain's father, right, was in business with Kemper Marley. Now, Kemper Marley, in history of Arizona politics, was the chairman for the mob in Arizona.
Mhm.
Hensley was founded with mob money. Mob has always owned Hensley.
The liquor company?
hmm They're
That's where
the.
she got her money, right?
hmm So it's like the largest Budweiser dealership, I think, in the Southwest
Oh,
almost.
wow.
They're huge. So, but what's relevant to all this, right, is you can. What the hell is some random 19-year-old, 20-year-old college kid, right, showing up at what's really like undeniably a mafia front. You can't deny it. You can chase all the paper back. I think it was in the 50s. Cindy McCain's dad got busted faking some liquor license stuff. Um, what's also interesting is Kemper Marley was blamed for the assassination of Don Bowles. Now, if you remember, Don Bowles
Yeah.
was assassinated, and there was a huge journalism project after that happened to like everybody trying to figure out what's going on. I believe Bowles was uncovering parts of the JFK assassination. Honestly, I think he was onto some of that. And really, if you look at the Ohio mob where Ducey comes from, you look at Hensley Beverage, there's just a lot of
Right.
connectivity there. And so the reason I bring all this up is, you know, when Doug Ducey literally framed me, right, for a rapist and tried to put me in prison, I was already 3 or 4 weeks before finding some of his mob ties, you know.
That's the thing. She wrote so in his when he was talking to the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
So I actually have the recording. When he was talking to the sheriff's office, he said Mitchell and I, talking to Stout, wanted to file this injunction together because her job is just too hard for her. That's literally what he told the sheriff's office. But it was just him because her being a public figure, she can't be part of it. So she is the reason for the injunction. If it wasn't for her, the sheriff's or the county attorney's office wouldn't have filed the paperwork. Because remember, if you remember, they're the ones who wrote it. They're the ones who sent it to the FBI.
But the restraining order itself that they're saying you're violating is because you're posting about both of them.
Well, the search warrant, yeah, because of both of them. That's right.
Right.
The search warrant actually specifically says I'm disparaging Rachel Mitchell, and that's why they're entitled to prosecute me or to get a search warrant for all my data. Well, I wanted to go to medical school and I couldn't, never got in, so I figured if I can't join them, I'll beat them. I'll go to law school. And I like to show Law and Order. That's literally how much thought and energy I put into it. I was down at U of A. I lived 2 blocks away from the law school. Very last day, this is in 1998. The very last day, I just walk in and I handed my application just on a whim. And I got in. And then, so I graduated law school, 2 years after law school, I get a job at the Pima County Public Defender's Office. I start being a public defender, start doing trial work, criminal defense work, and Pima County, at least back then, was very different, very, very different from the way Maricopa County operates. Very different. Juries are completely different. The judges are much more straightforward. It has a bigger sort of like legal tradition, I suppose. Bob Hirsch, famous from the death of the Jewish American princess, the very first sleepwalk, I killed my wife because I was sleepwalking case that he won back in the 70s. Anyway, he's from Tucson. A lot of mob people from New York moved to Pima County. So anyway, it's very different from Maricopa County. And it was great. I love being a public defender. Then I went off on my own. I did that for mostly DUI casework all around Arizona. And I was like there's a Johnny Cash song, I've been everywhere, man. And that was my song, because I had been in every single courtroom in Arizona, other than Flagstaff. I had been in Mojave County, I had been in Window Rock, I had been in Safford, Yavapai City, God knows, Ajo, Yuma, every single courthouse in America I had been in, every single justice court, every single city court in Metro Phoenix I had been in. Same thing with Yavapai County, or not Yavapai County and Pima County. And then I got the Maricopa County Public Defender contract. I started doing that, and that's when I run into Jamal Pennington. And like I had said last time, I didn't buy any of it. I could not believe the stories he was telling me, that he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, that he was low-hanging fruit, and that he had nothing to do with it. And it turns out he was right. But the story is, in Maricopa County, a black man's not allowed to be innocent, at least not when it comes to the vice unit, or what they call HEAT, the Human Exploitation and Trafficking Unit. And that has a lot to do with, that is Cindy McCain's baby. So if anybody who's not familiar with how politics in Maricopa County works, or in Arizona in general, is you have, the MAGA Republicans, Donald Trump, you have the Democrats, right? Independents, but then you also have the McCain Republicans. And that is the most powerful block of politicians in the state. And that's the establishment, basically, right? That's the establishment. John McCain, who's a psychopath, right? A warmonger. Really, just from what I can tell, a very nasty guy. Friends with Mark Brnovich, who's a lowlife. Friends with Bill Montgomery, who's a lowlife. But his wife, Cindy McCain, was the one who kind of planted the seeds for this HEAT unit, for the vice unit. And you can't cross Cindy McCain. Too much money, too much power. Rachel Mitchell falls squarely into the Cindy McCain block of the Republican Party. And they're not Republicans, they're not Democrats, they're just themselves. It's all about self-aggrandizement, about making themselves important and influential and powerful, regardless of the cost. And that's how politics works in Arizona. Everybody knows it. The state bar is controlled by the Cindy McCain Democrats, or the Cindy McCain Republicans. And I just ran afoul of them. And that's why I never got a hearing. That's why I never had due process. That's why I had the FBI and the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office walk into my living room, my own living room, and tell me I had to be quiet, I had to shut up. And so people are aware, this prosecution that Mays filed her search warrant for, no one in the history of the United States, just take everything that she's saying is true. Just assume it's true. Just assume that whatever his name is, Paul Stout, is butthurt because I tell fat jokes on X or whatever else. I would be the only person ever prosecuted in the entire history of the United States because the spouse of a politician is butthurt, which makes him a bigger woman than all the first ladies of governors, of all the female spouses of politicians in the history of the United States who may have been offended by somebody criticizing their husband. And essentially what they're doing is, imagine if Melania Trump said, or actually the way it would work is Donald Trump or any politician says, I don't like what that person is saying about me. I don't like what that critic in the Washington Post is saying about me, or the Arizona Republic, or on CNN, or wherever. Then they use their wife to pretend that their wife is offended to stop that person from criticizing. It could be the critic could be George Will, it could be Tucker Carlson, it could be Nick Fuentes, whoever you want. It could be you on X. Some politician doesn't like what you're saying, so that politician uses their spouse to say that they're offended and to get an injunction to stop you from criticizing the spouse. It's a total pretext, obviously. But anyway, I'd be the first person ever prosecuted, and for that, I'm getting prosecuted with a felony. So I was a lawyer for 22 years. No history of discipline whatsoever. My source of income was doing this job. 50 years old, and the state bar just takes it away from it. Takes away from me without giving me the right to challenge it, without giving me the right to defend myself. And like I said before, it's not a coincidence what my first name is or my last name is. None of this would be happening if I was John Blow. Because Mitchell and the bar know a random person hears just the bare bones about my case or what the bar did to me. Nobody's going to care. They're going to see my name and say, oh, he's the asshole. It's always my fault just because of my name. And I'm literally the only lawyer in the history of the state of Arizona. State bar is 100 years old. 100 years old. Just imagine what kind of people you've had in the state bar. There's lawyers in Arizona, mob lawyers, cowboy lawyers, crooks, whatever, what have you. I'm the only one to ever been sanctioned without a hearing, without default, meaning I didn't just give up, or without consent, meaning I didn't agree to the suspension. I tried to fight it. I wanted to fight it. I wanted my day in court because I knew I was going to win, and they never gave it to me. And I'm the only person that's ever happened to. And Marette Vasella, who's a chief bar counsel, who's a weasel and a lowlife, she doesn't deny it. I brought that up with her when I was in Senator Kern's office, and I said, I'm the only lawyer ever to be sanctioned without a hearing, without a default, or without consent. And her response was, well, I don't know anybody else. You're right. Nobody else did it. We've never done it to anybody else. So lucky me, I guess, right? And what does that mean? Why is that important? Because they took away everything from me. I'm 50 years old. I'm not going to learn the code. I'm not going to learn to be a plumber. I'm not going to learn how to do anything else. This is what I know. I'm not going to move anywhere and do anything else. So, like I was talking to a friend of mine who's a lawyer. It's like, well, move here and do that. It's like, no, I'm not moving. I'm staying here, and I'm winning or I'm losing. And that's how it's going to be, one way or the other. So if I go to prison, then I go to prison. But there is no off ramp for me. There's no take a left or take a right. There's only go straight. And I'll fight Twitter. I'll sue Twitter if I have to. If I have to sue Twitter myself, I'll do it. If I have to sue them in federal court, I'll do it. If I have to go to New York to sue them, I will do it. But this is not going to stand. I try to persevere. I try to not to be self-pity is an easy refuge. But then, I think about what I think about the most is not about myself, like not about the struggle that I've gone through, but the purpose behind it. This wasn't a choice. This wasn't a debate. This wasn't the kind of thing where I think, do I do left or do I do right? Like, do I stab Jamal Pennington in the back and ship him on his way like everybody else? Or do I do the right thing? It's like, it's not like that. It's not a choice. It's you either do the right thing or you don't. There's no risk cost benefit analysis. There's no risk. There's no thinking, well, if maybe things turn out this way or that way. So no, you do the right thing and everything else is the wrong thing. So that's what I think about. I think about the fact that the purpose of what I'm doing is not me making money or being famous or being a celebrity or buying a new car or buying a better house or any of that stuff. It's to defend liberty. So in a way, I feel like I was chosen, but it's been stressful. It's been awful. I can't describe the headaches, the sleepless nights, just the anger. Like that's the worst part is just the anger, like the frustration that I'm helpless. But fortunately, there's good folks out there. Not a lot in Arizona, but there are some good folks. A lot of mostly backstabbers and traitors, but there are some people who it's weird. I mean, I've actually run into some people very, very rarely who aren't motivated by fame or fortune. Like for 90, if any of you all who are watching this ever go through this, you're going to realize that kind of like Elon Musk, right? 99% of the people who say they're doing this for cause X or cause Z, it's just a pitch, right? It's just a pitch. But there's that one person in 1,000. I mean, there's somebody else. There's a couple other people. I'm not going to name him because I don't want them to be exposed. But one of them is definitely Mr. Rose here. Like he's genuinely not motivated by being famous or making money. God only knows how much money he's losing or spending of his own cash doing this. But he's genuinely motivated by the cause of justice. So that, if anything, has been, it's like Charles Dickens said, there's best of times and the worst of times. Yeah, it's been the best of times, worst of times, but it's also been the best of times meeting folks like Gordon. Of course, man, it's true.
Remember me, Bundy?
No.
The one you insulted?
I'm sorry, ma'am. You'll have to be a little more specific.
You made fun of my weight. You called me a giant seal?
Well, let's see. I had 4 elephants. I had a rhino who wanted some flip-flops. Had a manatee. Nah, don't remember any seals. Can you jog my memory? You know what jog is. That's what you do when the ice cream truck is pulling out.
You know what it was? I think I watch a lot of YouTube, and I think one of those Al Bundy videos just popped up, like Al Bundy's best insults. They're just so funny. And it's not, with Rachel Mitchell, it's not fat. I'm not making fun of her just for being fat. The point I'm making about Mitchell is a couple of things. One, she makes $200,000 a year, right? She is the face of Maricopa County. She had a confrontation with the attorney general, or not the attorney general, the DA in Manhattan over extraditing some murderer. There's talk about her running for attorney general. Don't dress like a slob. It is disgusting the way her attire. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's so backwards. It's so backwards. She wears sweatpants or something that looks like sweatpants. Her attire is completely inappropriate for the office, and she's going on TV like she lives on the street, living out of a shopping cart. You make that kind of money, you dress the part every single time. I mean, there's a story about Ronald Reagan when he was in the Oval Office. He would never take off his coat or his jacket. He would always be in a tie. And I think Donald Trump is the exact same way. It's like, you've chosen to be a politician. You've chosen to represent the people of Maricopa County. You dress the part. I don't care if it's 100. If I was the county attorney, just hypothetically, I don't care if it's 120 degrees outside. I'm wearing a suit, a wool suit, a silk tie, and a cotton shirt every single time.
Hey, Vlad, I think you'd make a great attorney general.
Attorney general, yeah. If I was attorney, and Brnovich it's not, that she's a female. Brnovich is the same way. Dressing like a slob, doing that's idiotic nunchucks. Who's ever seen it? If you Google Brnovich nunchucks, you'll see it too. But that's part of the reason that I'm doing the jokes too. It's completely unprofessional presentation and representation of Maricopa County. We look like a bunch of necks. And two, as far as the fat goes, is look, somebody's as fat as her. There's something in her going. There's something wrong with her. Somebody does not get to be morbidly obese. She's a foot shorter than I am, and she weighs probably 100 pounds more than I do. There is something wrong in her head. That's why she is that fat. Now, be fat, don't be fat. But when you're the face of the county and you look like that and you have a mental illness, I think it's a problem. And the other thing too is, like, if I'm making fat jokes. Seriously, I'm making fat jokes, and it's a federal case. Like, that's not an exaggeration. It's a federal criminal case. Does she really have the temperament and the temperament and the judgment to be in that position? Do you really want a person who dresses like that, who looks like that, who's that thin-skinned and triggered to be deciding on the death penalty, who gets the death penalty, who doesn't get the death penalty? Do you want her to have any sort of decision-making capacity? I don't. Like, what she should be doing is ignoring me. Just completely ignoring me. Because if she had ignored me like a sane politician would do in her position, I would have gotten bored and just gone away. And I've said that 100 times on social media. And it doesn't matter. She's that thin-skinned. She still abuses her power. She still comes after me.
How long was the Jamal Pennington cover-up going before you decided to do the fat joke?
Man, I don't even know when I started the fat jokes. I don't even like consciously.
The reason I'm asking that, I gotta imagine that a lot had happened to get you to finally go there.
I honestly don't. Well, I have to be honest, I didn't know who was pushing the buttons behind the scenes until I put the pieces together and I figured out it was Rachel Mitchell. And that was really after the first news story. So I would say, when did that story run? The first one I'm saying 24 or 23, maybe in September of 23. Mm-hmm. So that's when they started, I think. Mm-hmm. That's when so I don't know if you know this, but so Jimmy Jenkins writes that first story in the Arizona Republic, you know what I'm talking about? And Rachel Mitchell went ballistic at the Arizona Republic. Did I send you all the emails and stuff like that?
I have a bunch of them in my thing still.
No, okay, so there's a big binder that I got from the county attorney's office public records request because Jimmy told me about it, but they went crazy on Jimmy and they were trying to get him fired for writing that story. So she actually directly meddled with the Arizona Republic and the editors to change the story and to control the narrative. So that's when I figured out who it was. And of course, the NAACP, Andre Miller, was telling me about his interactions with Mitchell too.
Yeah, I think another thing maybe we should break down for the public that's super relevant is break down both the NAACP and then the other organization, because
National Action Network.
Yeah, because what happened, guys, is like the NAACP was going to step in, and then this other action network was going to step in to help Vlad because he got railroaded too as an attorney, and that turned all political too. Like, again, the thing is, these organizations that are supposed to come in and be like the cure-all for like injustice or compromise themselves. Kind of like how the Democrats pretend they care about left causes, but they just hijack the cause to do corruption.
Right.
They don't give a shit about the people.
No.
It's kind of the same thing.
It's exactly the same
thing.
thing.
These orgs don't give a shit.
No.
So can you break down both those orgs, like unpack those clearly? So, because I think there's pieces of that we need to cover later. So go ahead.
All right. So the first organization that got involved is a national organization, NAACP, which is the National Organization for the Advancement of Colored People. And that's really like the granddaddy of civil rights organizations in America, you know, back in the 50s, back in the day. And I think even Thurgood Marshall, Brown versus the Board of Education, 1954, I think it was general counsel for the NAACP. So you think NAACP is a legit organization, right? And to her credit, Julia Pickett, who's Jamal's wife, somehow managed to get the NAACP involved in Jamal's case. And this was before sentencing. And a guy named Andre Miller, Pastor Andre Miller, who claims to be an Army veteran, claims to have been an MP in the Army, claims to have been the first pastor for the Apache Junction Police Department, even though they don't have pastors, and claims to have been, God knows what other stuff he's claimed. Anyway, he gives me a call and tells me he's talked to Rachel Mitchell and Maricopa County Attorney's Office, and he's questioning the prosecution because the story in the Arizona Republic was that Jamal hadn't touched anybody. And so then I talked to him, and, you know, it sounds like he's going to go to bat for Jamal. And then he talks to Mitchell. Mitchell tells him, and we had talked about this a little bit last time, that she's going to put Jamal's case in integrity review. And then he also angrily tells me that, you know, and I told him about what the state bar had done, and he tells me that that's wrong, and I should file a complaint with the Civil Rights Department, the Department of Justice. Anyway, Miller, on behalf of Rachel Mitchell, I found out, tells me I need to stop using Twitter because it's jeopardizing Jamal's case. And if I don't stop tweeting, that's his text message, that's his phone call to me, is that if I don't stop tweeting, Rachel Mitchell isn't going to put Jamal's case in integrity review. So let me just repeat that. The chief prosecutor is saying to the NAACP, who's negotiating a resolution to Jamal's misconduct there's an integrity review department, a department of the county attorney's office that looks over a case to see if there's any sort of misconduct, right? Mitchell tells Miller, sends him a text message. We have that text message. I'm going to put the case in integrity review. She also tells him, but me, Vlad, has got to stop tweeting about it. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. Which is kind of weird, right? Kind of a little bit weird. Why would, and I didn't even criticize Mitchell. All I said was Mitchell told Miller Jamal's case is going in integrity review. That's it. I didn't say Mitchell's fat. I didn't say her boyfriend is a psycho because I didn't even know about her boyfriend. I didn't know existed. I didn't assume she had ever a boyfriend. I think she played for that team. Not that it matters, not that there's anything wrong with that. All I said was Mitchell has promised Miller of the NAACP to put the case in integrity review board. And that's when things have a meltdown with Miller. Long story short, Miller didn't give a crap about Jamal Pennington. Nobody at the NAACP gives a crap about Jamal Pennington. All Jamal Pennington is to them, the NAACP, is ammunition. All they're interested in doing is horse trading, is using his case to make money or to advance their own careers. I find out later on, Andre Miller actually claims to be a Republican, and he was running for mayor of Mesa. And what he wanted, the only thing he wanted from Mitchell was her help running for mayor of Mesa because he claims to have been a Republican. That's it. Sells me out under the bus and pretends like I'm the bad guy and starts bad-mouthing me. So then I start, tweeting about him and about his alleged Army career. You all can, look up that yourself. Did he really serve in the Army? Well, all I can tell you is I asked him about the Army, and he didn't seem to know anything about it, which was kind of weird. And I think it was, he claims to have been an Army MP. And from what I know about the Army is like if depending on your MOS, on what you, huh? MPs are basically. Yeah. But depending on what your MOS is going to be, like if you're going to be like in the Marine Corps, you either go to Parris Island or you go to MCRD San Diego, depending on geography. NAACP are just clowns and they're degenerates and they're just using civil rights as a means for their own
What was
agenda.
the resolution? Like, what was the last event with that?
I started tweeting because Miller sold me.
Did NAACP just run with their tail and say?
Yeah, they didn't do anything. They said, oh, well, we might do this, we might do that. The only thing Miller did.
So it never got referred to the.
No. It went. Okay, so there's this lady, Diane Post. Have you heard of Diane Post? She's the Democrat who filed all the bar complaints against like Alan Dershowitz, against like Abe Hamadeh. Okay. She's like a big hitting leftist. Yeah. And the state bar loves her, right? She's also general counsel for the NAACP. So I tell her everything. I tell her everything that happens to me because that's who Miller tells me to talk to, that she's going to help me out. This is like when we were still getting along pretty good. And Diane Post covers totally for the state bar. So anybody out there listening, or you, Diane, you are a fraud. And everybody's going to know it. She can file all the bar complaints against all the Republicans and whoever else she wants, but she is a total fraud. And so then they go, oh, the bar didn't do anything wrong. Mitchell didn't do anything wrong. So the biggest leftists in the world, Diane Post and Rachel Mitchell, are like that. I hope everybody knows that. The biggest leftist, allegedly, in the world, Diane Post, general counsel for the NAACP in Arizona, and Rachel Mitchell are that close. They're best buds. So that doesn't go anywhere. They drop it because they don't care. There's no money in it for them.
So in essence, the threat was carried out. That if you don't shut up, we're not going to send the case.
But She never was going to send the case. So it was an empty threat in the sense that
They never had intention.
no, it was all a lie. They even told the Arizona public that.
They pacifying Jamal's wife, basically?
I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Because she activated it, right?
She activated it too, but his wife doesn't care. Jamal's wife doesn't care at all. She's fine with what's going on. She defends Miller. She defends Andre Miller. But they even told the Arizona Republic they were going to send the case to integrity review, and they never did. And the Republic refused to follow up. They didn't. I mean, nobody cares. Bottom line is nobody cares.
Sounds like I need to make some investigative journalism calls to the NAACP.
Oh, I told you all about yeah. Okay. And then the NAACP doesn't do anything. They're worthless. And then just a few months ago, like in May, I'm criticizing the state bar all the time on social media, including Rachel Mitchell. And this is after the Stout case. This is after the dog shit story comes out. I mean, I just get a random phone call from somebody named Cherie Wright, who's a lawyer in town. She's suing the Suns, and so she's also local counsel for the National Action Network. It's another civil rights organization, and it's I guess a franchise or a branch of the National Action Network, which was created by the Reverend Al Sharpton in New York City. It's a civil rights organization. And she just goes full bore. She and a lady named Bridget Tarkinen, who's a local leader of the National Action Network and apparently is best friends with what's his name? Al Sharpton. They know all about my story. They know all about what the bar did to me and what Rachel Mitchell is doing to me. And they want me to join in on their crusade to basically dismantle the state bar. And I think, great, that's wonderful. So I hope the point I'm making here is that I never heard of the National Action Network. It's not like I was Googling civil rights organizations. Why the hell would I after what the NAACP did? They called me. So why do you think they called me? Huh? It took me a while to figure it out, but they were actually sent to call me by the state bar. They were working for the bar. That's right. The state bar recruited the National Action Network and this weirdo, Cherie Wright, to spy on me, to get me to stop tweeting, and to admit to the bar that I did something wrong. And the way I know that is I found out that when Cherie Wright would call me, the state bar was listening into the phone call. I know that because there's something I only told to Cherie that the bar told me that they knew. And when I call them on it, they pretend like, well, we don't know what you're talking about. Cindy McCain, her little group, her little defendant, was the ones who came up with the money to start this unit, the heat unit, for whatever political reasons, put the political will to go after the back page prosecution was her idea, and put the money and the will to create the heat unit, right, the human exploitation unit for I think it was for the Super Bowl that got featured on the Frontline episode. And her specific instructions were to shut down those two motels, the Payless Inn and the Airport Inn, where Jamal was arrested back in 2018. So when I went up to expose what these dirty cops were doing, it's really that simple. Just dirty cops framing innocent men. And Jamal wasn't the only one. There's probably dozens of them, maybe hundreds of men sitting in prison who shouldn't be. The power center behind those dirty prosecutions wasn't Rachel Mitchell. It wasn't even Bill Montgomery. It wasn't the Arizona Supreme Court. It was Cindy McCain and all her tens and millions of dollars and everybody else who she was associated with. And what goes along with that is not just putting innocent people in prison with dirty cops. It's the election engineering, the election interference, the anti-MAGA campaign, and everything else. God only knows what they're responsible for that we don't know about. And that's why they did it. I mean, because they have all the power in the world, and nobody's going to confront Cindy McCain and her money.
It has nothing to do with you two.
So, I was arrested in 2023 in June, right? And it was basically just a fight that went on inside the house, and then a fight that went on outside the house, right? And I didn't start either fights, but I finished both of them.
You have no priors?
No, none. I got home from work. I realized that my roommates had been stealing from me for months at this point. So I'm like, okay, well, if they're stealing from me, I'm not going to deal with it. So I send a group chat to everybody who lives in the apartment. And I'm like, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm going to take my name off the lease. I'll be out of here. What this does is it forces them to requalify for the lease, which they cannot do with their credit scores. So as a result, his girlfriend comes out, drops vertical elbows on my head, which is the only strike in. I was standing in the living room, you know, being a fucking jerk, fucking yelling. But I wasn't doing anything violent. I was just yelling.
Okay.
And I thought I was alone in the house for one. So I was like, nobody's gonna witness this. It's just me venting, you know, screaming to a pillow, move on with your day, right? So from there, I hear the door slam behind me, which is her coming out of the room, slamming the door. And then I start turning around. And as I'm turning around, there's vertical elbows flying at my face, which is the only strike in martial arts, one of the only strikes in martial arts that's banned at basically every level of competition for being lethal force. To which I put this person in a Muay Thai clinch, I turn around and I deposit them on the couch. And I'm like, just stop hitting me. And I go to inspect my injuries. That was the whole situation. What they charged me with was aggravated assault, domestic violence, impeding breathing. So what they told the cops when they called was they said that I had picked her up Thanos style, slammed her into the floor.
Thanos style?
Like have you ever played Super Smash Bros? Okay, well there's a character in Super Smash Bros called Ganondorf. And Ganondorf, if you click B and down, he'll zoom forward, pick up the character, and slam them down into a blaze of fire. It actually looks pretty sick. Anyways, this is how they described my interaction with her. Right? Now, the thing is, 150-pound lateral raise is impossible. Like, humanly impossible. Like, for the Guinness World, 150 pounds. And I'm 120 pounds at this time.
So she outweighs you by 30 pounds?
Yes.
And she attacks you first?
Yes.
And all you do, did you throw any strikes?
I threw one.
What did you do?
Overhand with my right hand, and it wasn't at full capacity. It was a warning. It was stop it, or I'm gonna have to legitimately defend myself.
Did you hurt her?
No.
Did you see any injuries on her?
No, none, and neither did my mother when she came by later to get my clothes.
All right, but were you doing anything other than defending yourself?
No.
And what was the net result of you defending yourself?
Multiple hematomas on my forehead. A dime size.
To her.
Oh, as far as I know, nothing. I couldn't see any marks at all. And neither could my mother when she came to come see. So there wasn't like both of the data points that I have prior to me leaving the situation are that there are no injuries. So as far as I'm aware, I caused nothing, right? However, I personally had a hematoma on my forehead, another one on the side of my face. Yes, and more than likely concussion. I never got tested because I never saw a doctor, which should have been the first thing that I saw after reporting my injuries to the police, which I never got. They weighed me in at the jail, so they knew that I was 120 pounds.
So back up for a second. How did the police get involved?
So that's part of the going across the street deal.
I
So, basically,
5 hours later.
Yeah, 5 hours later, there's a call that goes out from her boyfriend saying that I had harmed her, right? They show up, they give statements that are complete lies, given the Ganondorf thing I was just explaining. And then the next day, the cops pull up at the hotel I'm at that my mom put me in under her name. So they should have had no way of finding that without violating her rights, her right to privacy specifically. And so they found me at the hotel. They come in. The guy who is at the front desk is like this Indian guy. And I remember it very vividly because I woke up from like a concussion nap. Like I was falling asleep and jerking myself back awake, and then falling asleep and then jerking myself back awake.
So she actually connected with you?
Very hard, yes.
With her elbow?
Repeatedly, yes. About 5 times, yes.
Wow.
Because I just shielded up as soon as I could, but I wasn't expecting my roommate to attack me out of nowhere. So I was kind of like, wow, I'm getting hit. This really sucks. I should put something here. And then I did. But it doesn't take that long. Like 5 elbows, just so the camera can see, is boom, 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 boom. It's nothing.
She trained?
I train her.
Oh, so she's trained to...
By me. And she's a former soccer player, so she's already an athlete, which means it doesn't take long for her to get dangerous. I do it on purpose, right? I train the women around me so that they can defend themselves against other people. I did not expect them to use that knowledge to harm me. Right. So Because I can't think of a situation where I'd be involved in where I would have to fight a woman.
So let me ask you, did you tell the cops about the group text?
I did. They have a copy of it.
And what was their reaction?
Their reaction was to look at it and go, yeah, we have that information, and then completely disregard it.
So did they care that the reason she attacked you was over money?
No.
Did it have anything to do with sex or anything like that?
Nothing.
Nothing like that, right?
No. Actually, I had told her very specifically that I was not interested several months earlier.
Because she's outweighed you by 30 pounds?
No, because she is an NPC and doesn't have a personality of her own.
What is NPC?
NPC is a non-playable character in a video game. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, everybody. We just had a new guest coming to the podcast. Welcome, Rachel Mitchell. She just came in her true form. The mask has been lifted. Unfortunately, well,
She's a sweetie pie.
yeah. No, we don't want to be. I was just gonna say we don't want to besmirch your beautiful animal.
What did you say this breed was called?
It's a silky.
A silky?
They're adorable.
Told you some of my buddies like stole a bunch of ducks and they like
Yeah,
started
yeah,
a farm.
yeah.
He's like he sends me a picture. He's like, they don't want you to know this, but the ducks are free. They're wild.
Let's see. I don't fucking know.
I'll just come over. I don't know, just use this chair.
Yeah, whatever.
Here, just let me
Here,
see this real
yeah,
quick,
you
though.
do that. Fucking give us the shot.
There we go.
Here, then give us the. You got to move the
Yep.
thingy. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Hey, remind everybody, go to rachelbitchell.com. There's a buy now button. $39.99 gets you a genuine bitchel. Okay, so here's the thing, everybody. No joking. Go to rachelbitchell.com. Buy the t-shirt. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We didn't even do... Here, you want to do a Painter Shirts commercial real quick?
A little bit. Yeah, so basically over the next couple of months, and I haven't even gone over all of this with you.
Whatever. Just
but-
rant a little bit.
So our plan over the next several months is that we're going to pair with some organizations, hopefully some big ones, and we're going to get our brand out there. And the reason that we're going to get our brand out there is that the main funding for Shared Threads is coming from this company, a clothing line for my MMA fighting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're also trying to provide better service, a small shop with 12 employees, and you need shirts, hats, and vests for all of your people. At the end of the day, what we're able to do is have the cost that you would normally have to do for a part of your overhead and make that shit easier for you to make it just smooth as butter, really.
To bread, bro. I'm not butterable. Yo, what's up, everybody? Okay, so check this out. I've been communicating with James O'Keefe by text for months. After he covered up for Ryan Hartwig, his Facebook whistleblower.
Hello?
Hey, James, it's Gordon Rose. How you doing this morning?
Gordon Rose calling from, I'm sorry.
Oh, Clip Artist Films, The Uneven.
I gotta call you back.
Why do you have to call me back, though? I want to ask you a couple questions about Stacy Burke and Ryan Hartwig. You got a few minutes? Hello? Jimmy? Oh, come on, Jimmy. Why are you hiding, bro? Why are you platforming Ryan Hartwig, who admitted he tried to send an innocent woman to prison for political motivations? Jimmy! Jimmy! After that went down, Jimmy started patting me on the head by text. Right after his interview of RFK Jr., RFK Jr. liked one of my things. Like trying to butter me up, right, Jimmy? Were you trying to butter me up? See, I've been through this before. Lynn Wood tried to butter me up. David Hancock tried to butter me up. Ryan Hartwig tried to butter me up. I'm not like a piece of bread, bro. I'm not butterable, whatever the hell, you know. But what I do is I use my skill set. You're a professional manipulator. I would say similar to a spy. Your journalism product is a hybrid of spying and traditional journalism. It's your core product. So it's undeniable. You're proud of it. Just like what I do. The thing that we do differently, though, Jimmy, is when I had a chance to suck on that fame dick, I said no. You know what I did? Is I exposed somebody trying to send an innocent woman to prison. I had worked years to get my story out of standing up to the government, putting it all on the line to get the truth out. And I flushed it down the toilet in 10 seconds, as soon as I saw Ryan Hartwig trying to set her up. Now, he later admitted, Jimmy, that it was for political motivations. I'm going to publish all this shit and talk deeply about what's going on. I have other sources. I've been working for years on this story, and it's time for you to tell the truth. It's one of two things, James O'Keefe. Either A, you are directly involved with the Korean Air false flag on the ground, period, end of story. Or B, you covered up for it and platformed Ryan Hartwig at an event after I had caught him trying to send her to prison falsely to protect your brand. It's A or B. Which one is it? Either one's shitty. My job is just to get you to tell the truth. The truth you profess to hold so dear. Do it for the American people. Everybody deserves to know the truth on Korean Air and what happened. Kind of find it funny that nobody wants to cover it. Nobody wants to get that truth out. Pretty interesting. Have a nice day, Jimmy. You got my number, you got my email. Tell the truth. Thank you. From Project Veritas. I think a week, 2 weeks later, after that they canned him. Now, I'm not saying there's a correlation there, but what I am saying is Jimmy.
A few minutes later.
Yeah, that's what we got so far.